Growing up, my parents always favored my golden brother. He could do no wrong. When I said I wanted to start a business, they turned their backs and told me I was wasting my time. Years later, my company became a success. Now my brother is unemployed, and my parents are demanding I give him a job. Like nothing ever happened. I hadn't spoken to my parents in 5 years. Not because I left with bitterness, because they were the ones who left first. The last thing my mother said to me back then was, "If you choose shame over stability, you no longer exist to us." I was 23, just getting started. Now I'm 28, I run my own motorcycle gear company. I'm not a millionaire, but I live in a nice apartment, drive my own car, and I'm expecting a baby. And then, out of nowhere, a message from my parents. After 5 years of silence. "Celine, could you come by? We need to talk." No explanation. No attempt to apologize. I didn't know what to expect, but I went. My brother Austin was at their house. He was always their pride. The older one, the success story, the corporate climber. Vice president at a major firm, straight out of college. He never missed a step. When I told them I wanted to start my own business, they laughed. Not because they doubted the idea, because they doubted me. I still remember the look on my father's face. Some awful mix of pity and disappointment. They gave me a choice. Stay normal or disappear from their lives. I chose myself. I stood in the same hallway where I once learned to tie my shoes, feeling every muscle tense. My mother hugged me like nothing had happened. My father poured tea like he hadn't called me a disgrace to the family. Austin sat off to the side, looking drained. I waited. They talked about everything and nothing. Weather, furniture, an old neighbor I barely remembered. And then finally my mother said, "We've heard things are going well for you. We're glad." It wasn't a compliment. It was the lead-in. I felt it before she even said the rest. "Austin's going through a rough time. We were hoping you could support him. Maybe offer him a job." I didn't answer right away. I just pretended to consider it and nodded. My mother looked pleased with herself, like her smooth approach had worked. Austin didn't even look at me. He barely spoke at all. I asked if he had actually requested this himself. She hesitated, then said it was a mutual idea. I didn't ask anything else. I just stood up and said I'd think about it. Left immediately. No hugs. The drive home was quiet. Like the whole world had gone still with me. I wasn't angry. I was empty. 5 years of silence. And suddenly they remembered I existed because their golden boy had stumbled. They didn't come to my wedding. Didn't congratulate me on opening my office. Didn't message me when they found out I was pregnant. But the moment Austin hit a rough patch, I was needed again. At home, my husband was waiting, the question already in his eyes. I told him everything, simply. He didn't interrupt, just said, "So what do you think?" I replied, "I think if he hadn't lost his job, they wouldn't have called." He nodded. "Then you've already decided." And he was right. I had known my answer the moment I stepped into that house. I just hoped I was wrong. But I wasn't. Their concern wasn't real. It was strategy. Austin had always been the better one. He wasn't shamed for his mistakes. He was never told he was a disgrace. They shielded him from everything, even from me. And when I tried to take my own path, they erased me. And now I was supposed to forget that? Just because he was struggling? I wasn't cruel. I didn't want revenge. But I wasn't a savior either. Not for the people who threw me overboard. The next day, I messaged my mother. Polite, no blame. I said I wouldn't be able to offer Austin a job. He and I were too different. We never got along. And most importantly, he never asked me for help himself. If he truly wanted it, he could have said something in person. There was no reply. Not a word. 2 days later, my father sent a message. "It's a shame you turned out so petty. We expected more from you." I didn't reply, but something twisted inside me. Petty? After they erased me from the family? Petty? Because I didn't want to bring into my team the brother who never even saw me as his equal? It felt like being shoved into cold water without warning. I reread the message several times, then deleted it. On the third day, the daily messages began. Sometimes they asked me to reconsider. Sometimes they sent old childhood photos captioned, "Remember who you are." Once my mother wrote that Austin cried at night. I didn't believe her. He hadn't looked like someone who gave me a second thought. I felt anger and guilt knot into something sticky and heavy. I went on a long walk alone, got soaked in the rain, but even that didn't help. I wasn't furious because they were pushing. I was furious because I was letting them push again. I promised myself that would stop. No more calls, no more texts. I blocked both of them. Not out of revenge, out of self-preservation. That night, I lay next to my husband, listening to him breathe, and wondered, am I really supposed to feel guilty? For what? For learning how to say no? For choosing myself over people who never once chose me? A week after I blocked them, an envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter. My mother's handwriting. At the bottom, barely visible, it read, "You'll destroy your family the moment you give birth." I sat in the kitchen, holding that piece of paper, feeling everything inside me tighten into ice. I didn't need to wonder who sent it. No one else would dare write something so vile. I didn't show it to my husband. The pregnancy had already been difficult, and I didn't want him worrying, but something inside me snapped. I drove to their house on autopilot. No one answered the door. The curtains were drawn. I knocked, first calmly, then with fury. I said everything out loud that I'd kept in for years. I shouted that they had no right to speak about my child, that they weren't parents, they were manipulators, that I would never forgive them. I stood on their doorstep, pregnant, hands shaking, and felt no fear, no pain, only resolve. Then I turned and walked away. And for the first time in all this, I didn't feel like I was carrying the weight alone. I felt like there was something larger behind my actions than just hurt. It was a boundary, the final one, and they crossed it. I got home late and didn't say where I'd been. My husband had fallen asleep with his hand on my belly, just like he did almost every night. I looked at him and knew I had my family, not the one that abandoned me, the one that stayed. I didn't tell him about the letter, and maybe I never will. Some poison isn't worth spreading, especially when it comes from the people you once called mom and dad. A few days after I left that letter on their doorstep, I got a call from an unknown number. I didn't answer the first time, or the second, but when it came a third time, I picked up. "Celine, it's me, Austin." I didn't say anything, just waited. "I'm not calling to ask for anything," he said quickly. "I just found out what they've been doing." There was a pause. "I never asked them to talk to you. I didn't even know they were contacting you until yesterday." His voice sounded tired, flat. "They told me you refused to help out of spite, but then I saw everything they'd been sending to the rest of the family." I sat down. "So you didn't ask for a job?" "No," he said. "I took time off because I needed it. I got laid off, yeah, but I'm not desperate. I've been in a weird headspace, trying to figure things out." I told them that, but they didn't listen. I guess they thought pushing you was the solution. I didn't know what to say. After everything, this was the last thing I expected. He went quiet, then added, "They keep making me feel like I'm failing unless I do exactly what they want. I just wanted you to know, none of this came from me." That sentence, "none of this came from me," rattled something loose inside me. For the first time in years, I didn't feel anger toward him, just sadness, and maybe a little relief. "I believe you," I said quietly. "Thank you for calling." "And I'm sorry," he said, "for how I treated you when we were kids. I didn't get it then. I do now. I don't know what changed more, him or the way I saw him. But for the first time, Austin felt like a person, not a symbol of everything I wasn't allowed to be." We hung up without promises, no big reconciliation, just a strange, quiet truth sitting between us. And I held on to it. Austin called me again a few days later. This time I answered on the first ring. "I talked to them," he said. His voice was tight. "It didn't go well." I waited. "I told them to stop using me to manipulate you. I said I never wanted a job from you and that what they did was wrong." I could already hear it in his tone. Whatever happened next, it hurt. "They lost it," he said. "Said I was being ungrateful, that I've changed, that I let you poison me." He laughed, but it wasn't really a laugh. "They said I should have never trusted you, that you'd always hated me, that I was throwing away my future to defend someone weak." I gripped the edge of the counter, listening. It was like watching a painting I'd stared at my whole life suddenly crack down the middle, he said. "I always thought they pushed me because they believed in me, but now I think they just liked control." I didn't say anything. He didn't need me to. I walked out, he said. "I haven't spoken to them since." For the first time, he sounded unsure. Not like someone defeated, but someone trying to stand on a floor that kept shifting. "I think I finally get it now," he added quietly. "Why you left?" I wanted to tell him how many nights I cried alone, wondering if I'd made the wrong choice. I wanted to say I was proud of him for seeing it, but I didn't. Instead, I just said, "I know," and that was enough. We weren't close. We might never be. But now we shared something real. The understanding of what it means to break away from people who taught you to equate love with pressure. That evening, as I folded baby clothes in our living room, I felt a strange kind of peace. Not because everything was fixed, but because for the first time in a long while, I knew I wasn't the only one who saw the cracks. A few days after Austin told me he'd cut them off, things took a turn. My cousin sent me a screenshot of a Facebook post. It was from my parents. A long, dramatic message about how they'd lost both children to bitterness and were being punished for caring too much. They didn't mention names, but it was obvious. One child turned her back on us years ago. It read. The other, poisoned by resentment, followed. We did everything for them, sacrificed everything, and now we're left alone. My hands were shaking, not from rage, just disbelief. After everything they'd done, they still needed to be the victims. I didn't respond, but our extended family did. One by one, the comments came in, and this time they weren't on their side. My aunt wrote, "You cut Celine off when she chose a different path. Now you're shocked she won't come running?" A cousin added, "You spent years praising Austin and ignoring her. Maybe it's not bitterness. Maybe it's consequences." Dozens more followed. Some I hadn't spoken to in years. No one defended them. By the end of the day, the post was gone. Deleted. And so were the accounts. They'd blocked everyone. I don't know if they felt shame or just rage, but for the first time, their version of the story wasn't the only one being heard. I told Austin. He sent back a single word. "Wow." Then another. "Thank you." That night, I sat on the couch, rubbing my belly in circles, and realized I didn't feel angry anymore. Not even tired. Just done. It was over. Not the memory, not the history, but the power it had over me. For years, I thought I needed their love to feel whole. But now I had something better. I had the truth. And I had people who saw it too. The baby came early, 2 weeks before the due date. It was a rainy Tuesday, the kind that blurs everything outside the hospital window. Labor was long, exhausting, but when they placed him on my chest, I forgot every ounce of pain. He was small, warm, and real. My husband cried more than I did. We named him Leo, for strength, for light. In those first days, I barely thought about anything outside that room. Just feedings, tiny fingers, and the quiet rhythm of new life. But when I finally opened my phone, there were no messages from my parents. No letters, no gifts, no acknowledgement. And surprisingly, I didn't feel hurt. I felt free. I didn't want them to know him. Not because I was angry, but because he deserved better. He deserved a life where love didn't come with conditions. A family that didn't ask for pieces of him in return. Austin texted a week later. "He looks like you," he said after I sent a picture. "You're going to be a great mom." I didn't answer right away. I stared at those words for a long time, then wrote back, "I'm trying to give him everything we didn't get." He replied, "Then he's already luckier than we were." I don't know where things will go with Austin. We're not close. But maybe that's okay. Maybe healing doesn't mean recreating something broken. Maybe it just means refusing to carry the damage into something new. I still think about my parents sometimes. Usually when I'm rocking Leo to sleep. I wonder if they ever really saw me. Or if they only saw what they wanted me to be. But the difference now is, those thoughts don't own me. I don't need their love anymore. I have enough. I am enough. I didn't rescue them. I didn't fix the past. I just walked away from it. And in the quiet, in the peace, I built something better. I built a life that begins with love, not proof.